I thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and it's a bit, it's awesome actually to be in a room full of people who have thought so deeply and worked so hard to move an agenda, and to see the fruit of that work from the people in this room and from the people across the country coming to fruition in the new administration. And you know, we, in some ways, we had for a number of years the kind of excuse that we had a president and you know, that we didn't necessarily agree with, and we could always blame everything on that, you know, on the administration. And now it's showtime. So we have our work cut out for us. I wanted to take this opportunity to share with you this morning a work in progress. It's a video documentary, and also a book that's going with it called The Earth, the City, and the Hidden Narrative of Race. It's a companion book to one that's coming out that will be edited by Dr. Pavel, called Breakthrough Communities, Sustainability and Justice in the Next American Metropolis. So what I would like to do is to, in introducing this very brief eight-minute video document, to share with you some ideas about the sort of larger context of our work and our life. And this larger context actually is much deeper than most of us think about on a daily basis, although some of us do think about it on a daily basis. We're the end product of 14 billion years of evolution in the universe, and we need to begin understanding what that evolution and what the resource of that is for us. So this brief documentary will give an idea of how to think about this, at least from the work that we've been doing. And in looking at this documentary, I want to point out 7 or 8 themes that you should look for in it. It's very brief. The first one is that our deep remembering is a resource for thinking about a new generation of policies and practices for building sustainable communities. The second thing I want you to think about is, as you look at this, and it'll only be very brief on the screen, but 350 million years ago, there was a giant continent called Pangaea, and it was surrounded by an ocean, and that continent began to break apart. And as it broke apart, the proto-version of North America broke away from the proto-version of Africa. And because of the terrestrial forces that existed at that time, it reversed itself, and there was a huge collision between Africa and North America. I don't know whether and many people don't know about this, but this collision took place, and the land in North America crumpled up and produced the Appalachian Mountains that stretch all the way from Maine down to Georgia and across Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. And that reminds us that how important our understanding of our relationship to the land is. And as Africa began to pull away from North America, it was the birth of the Atlantic Ocean. And so remembering that we relate to the land in a really, really, really deep way is a really important resource. Another point to look for in this brief video is the birth of humanity in Rift Valley in Africa. And the birth of humanity as a single species, and it shows our connection to the natural world. It's really important to think about our connection to the natural world, our universal connection to each other, and also the birth of humanity occurred at a particular moment of climate change when our ancestors came down from the trees and began to walk across the savanna. So we think about climate change. It's a really frightening phenomenon, but it also is a major opportunity. And those migrations that happened from beginning in Africa, then passed across Africa and out the migrations across all the continents. Another point to remember is that beginning in 1492, there was this big transformation worldwide that affected everybody. It affected the indigenous people here. It affected the colonization of people around the world. And our cities, particularly the cities, metropolitan development in Europe, and all of the cities early cities, colonial cities in North America, Central America, and Africa were deeply influenced by the slave trade. And this is something that is not often talked about, and we really need to understand what that influence meant. A major crisis happened in North America with the Civil War, and many of us who are African American realized how important that moment was for us. But we very rarely think that the experiment of Reconstruction was an early attempt by African American people to live sustainably on the land. And this is a really important resource for us also to think about the efforts that we made to live sustainably and the institutions that were built at that time. And it raises for us now the importance of us thinking about building a new generation of institutions that relate to our current challenges. And finally, the Great Black Migration is an important resource for us in understanding the migrations of people all over the world and the current migrations that are happening within our metropolitan regions, both the migrations of many people from around the world to our cities and suburbs, but also the migration of our folks from the inner city to the suburbs and the challenges that are happening. And finally, look for that actually begin to understand that this is an intergenerational struggle that we're involved in. So as we look at this, we realize that the conditions change from one generation to the next, and we are now facing a huge change in intergenerational change, and that's something that we should be welcoming.